"We don't serve people like you." The words fell across the lobby and landed like a stone. Phones lifted, conversations thinned. The receptionist's voice was flat, practiced, an authority performed in public. Behind him, a screen blinked reservation details. In front of him stood Elena Brooks, calm, precise, and not surprised. She had a reservation. The booking was visible on the front desk monitor. It was prepaid. People could see the name and the timestamp. They could also see minutes later the hand that would make all the difference. Elena's hand, steady, reaching for her phone. The room held its breath in different ways. Some guests shifted awkwardly. A few watched with interest. Security straightened. The manager hovered in the doorway, posture neutral, voice silent. Silence had been chosen as an ally. Elena did not raise her voice. She did not mirror the theatrics. Instead, she set her phone on the desk and said plainly, "I'm recording this." The little rectangle of glass became a witness. The receptionist, confident in his script, doubled down and repeated the line, this time into a camera. "We don't serve people like you." Time elongated. The receptionist kept tapping at the keyboard as if the system would change its mind. He said the usual things. "Our system doesn't show it." But the screen already showed the reservation. His authority relied on the room's willingness to accept a refusal. The room's willingness held for a moment. Guests looked away. A few raised their own phones. Murmurs threaded through the lobby like low wind. Security's presence sided with procedure rather than protection. They blocked immediate access to the desk. The manager's face flickered between neutrality and discomfort. Roles were being performed, a receptionist asserting ban, security enforcing distance, a manager deflecting responsibility. Elena remained composed. Her strategy was simple and public. She narrated what was happening while it happened. She spoke enough to document, not to inflame. She said her name. She affirmed the reservation aloud. She placed her phone where it could hear and be heard. The recording picked up the receptionist's exact words. The evidence accumulated in real time. Then a new presence moved into the scene, a compliance officer with a tablet. She approached with a quiet authority that came from procedure, not performance. She requested to see the reservation on the system. The tablet's screen reflected timestamps and access logs. She tapped through a few entries and then looked up, meeting the receptionist's gaze with an even steadiness. The reservation was confirmed. It was paid. The tablet also showed corporate records, ownership of the parent company associated with the account. The compliance officer, voice measured, said what the screen showed. Ownership verification confirmed Elena Brooks's status as owner of the parent company. The power dynamic that had been staged at the desk began to tilt. For the first time, the receptionist fumbled. His sentences shortened. He stopped tapping. The manager, who had been waiting for permission to act, found a new thing to worry about: procedure. The compliance officer continued to speak in administrative terms, access logs, timestamps, policy violations, and then made a formal statement no one in the lobby could ignore. Front desk operations are suspended pending review. Those words were administrative, clinical, but they carried consequence. Security's stance shifted from barrier to escort. The receptionist was moved aside. Someone began the notes that later would be labeled in internal systems as termination processing and pending review. The lobby, which had been a stage for humiliation, was now a ledger for accountability. At no point did Elena celebrate. She collected her things and exchanged no gloating smiles. She retrieved her phone, the recording intact. She stepped back from the counter, and as she left, spoke to the manager in a voice that was low but unmistakable. "You had choices. You chose comfort." The sentence landed differently than the earlier denial. Where the receptionist's words had been meant to dismiss and diminish, Elena's line named the moral decision that had been made in public. Out in the lobby, the crowd reassembled into ordinary people again, some whispering, some avoiding one another's eyes, others checking the feeds they had already uploaded. For a few there was relief, for others, embarrassment. A couple of guests apologized to each other for not stepping forward. A few more looked at their phones, at the recording, and made quick judgments about what they'd witnessed. The bystanders who had been silent were now contending with what silence had enabled. The scene closed without spectacle. The compliance officer left instructions for statements. Security escorted the receptionist away. The manager's access was paused. The front desk displayed an automated notice about a service standards review. The processes moved on, as corporate procedure does. Investigation, suspension, documentation. The immediate public humiliation had found an institutional response. What changed here was not raw force. Elena never raised a hand. What she did was convert refusal into proof. The lobby had been a theater. The recording and the corporate checks turned it into evidence. In that transformation, the balance of power shifted. It did not erase the hurt that had been inflicted. It did not undo the moment of humiliation. But it created a consequence for the behavior, and for that reason, it mattered. This was not a triumphal exit. Elena walked away with her dignity intact and with a phone full of timestamps. She left the space to the people who remained there to process their complicity or relief. The story that would travel from phones and feeds would not be about spectacle. It would be about accountability. How a refusal can be met, not with the theater of argument, but with documented truth and a system that, when engaged, can act. There are quieter lessons in the aftermath. Silence protects behavior. Audience is power. Evidence is a leveler. When words are spoken into a room, they can go unheard. When those same words are recorded and verified, they demand a response. Corporate structures can either shield misconduct or, when asked to act, become the mechanism by which it is corrected. The choice of the bystander matters, but so does the choice of the person withstanding to insist on consequence. The lobby hum resumed. People returned to their plans. The receptionist's performance had been interrupted not only by procedure, but by a refusal to accept the legitimacy of the denial. Elena's calm was tactical. Her dignity was a tool. Justice in this small public encounter arrived as procedure and as proof. If this moment struck you, comment one word this represents: dignity, power, justice, or accountability. Like what you heard? Subscribe for more true stories where silence is confronted and consequence follows.